Hello, my name's Duncan and welcome to Back Away from the Donkey and Bath Books. And today is a tag day. Well, it's not a tag day when I'm recording, but it will be a tag day when I release this. It's a beautiful day here at sort of 59 degrees north. Nice sunshine and everything going on. This tag is I've got a piece of paper in front of me to tell me what it is. It's the Spring is in the Air tag. And I was tagged by Gavin at Genre Books. And it was originally done by Daniela at Uncommon Reader and Reney at Beyond Books. WT5IL. Well, that's a bit of a moniker. Anyway, but I'll tag everybody below so you can all go and visit their channels and give them lots of love. And this was just quite an interesting little tag to do, actually. So I will start at the beginning. And Reney and Daniela, what they said at the beginning of this was that they looked forward to warmer days ahead, as well as hearing your answers to the prompts. So hopefully I'm not going to disappoint them here. So the first one, Spring Chips. Name a book that made you feel more warm and fuzzy. Well, I had a little thing there. Lots of books make me feel warm and fuzzy, or maybe that's the weather or what I've been eating. But one that came to mind was Danny, Champion of the World by Roald Dahl. I've got a copy here. Hopefully you can see it okay. There's not too much reflection off the sun coming from the window. Because I love this cover. I read this first when I was at school. And it's just a great, great book. The story is about her father and a son and poaching, and it just, I don't know, it just sort of encapsulates everything that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. And it's probably my favourite Dahl book. Not that I was ever big into his stuff, but it is probably my favourite just because of sort of the memories it brings. Like, I would have read this probably in the sort of 77-ish, probably, at school. I don't know, maybe a bit later. But that's the cover I always remember. Hopefully I said you can see that well. So I'm just looking at my monitor over there just to see if I think it's not reflecting too much. If it is, I'll put a thing up there. But I do like the cover. I don't know. Did it say who did the cover? By Jill Bennett, the cover is. So I don't know her work myself, but I really do like that cover. It sort of encapsulates the book. So let's get my piece of paper for prompt number 2, which is April Showers. A book that is set near or on the water or has the word water in it. Well, last year I went to our local library. It's the Orkney Library and Archive. If you want to follow them on Twitter or Blue Sky, not Twitter, do it on Blue Sky. They're always the guys there are always quite entertaining. And we've got a thing about balls. You see about it. But yeah, Orkney Library and Archive. Well, they had some books outside that they were giving away for free because they were clearing out some of their stocks. And this was Douglas Riemann. And I'll show you that one. That was a hardback. And this one is Strike from the Sea. Like sort of boys' own war stuff. But apparently, I did some research. Douglas Riemann was a naval officer. And he wrote a bunch of books about sea warfare. And apparently they're pretty good. I've not read any of these yet. So I've got these two. But there's quite a lot of them from what I was looking at. So yes, so they're definitely set on the water or near the sea. And we love the sea because I live by the sea. So, next question. Sorry, just look at my list. Is talk about a time you took a break from reading and why. Well, I originally, when I left school, I went to art school, and then I ended up coming out of that, and I ended up going into printing, and I became a printer and 4-colour process planner. So, as much as vaguely related. And then at the back end of the 90s, I ended up going, not back to university to train for medicine, because that's the sort of person I am, all over the place. So I spent about 5-6 years doing all this, and I didn't read much bar textbooks and anatomy and osteology and all those sorts of things. And so I did all those things, and I'd gone back to university there, and I just didn't read a lot. And almost at that time, I also got rid of a load of books I had. And what I call it is the great book purge of the 90s. God rest their souls. And which is why I sort of slowly been sort of picking up ones from that sort of period, but then that's the period I like. And yes, that's it really. And that was why it happened. My return to university. So next one. Swallows Homecoming, a book and author that we always go back to for comfort. I say Isaac Asimov. I like most things that he's written, and I like his style because he's not over prosy and it's all about the ideas. And I always feel if I'm feeling a bit down, I go, especially short stories. I'll go into the short stories and that, and you get it's like an Asimovian sort of protagonist, a solution. People always solve problems in a certain way, which is all to do with the way they think and the way they work through these problems most of the time. But yes, I always go back to Isaac Asimov for sort of comfort reads when I feel like reading something. I've still never read everything he's done because he did so much. So number 5 is Blooms, a book that started slowly but blossomed into one of your favourite reads. Not got a copy here because I've only got an ebook, so I'll put the cover up there. And it's Kings of a Dead World by Jamie Mollett. And it's sort of taking the idea that Philip Joseph Farmer had in his Day World thing about people being in suspended animation because of overpopulation due to part of the time to obviously use less resources. But the whole book concentrates more on sort of environmental stuff. But what's interesting is for the first 80% of the book, I hated it. It is because it's grim, it's bleak, but grim and quite a nasty way. But then towards the end of the book, it sort of came together, and I sort of ended up being probably one of my favourite books that I read that year, and a really, really good book. And it's also my argument about why you shouldn't give up a book within sort of the first 50 or 100 pages sometimes. So yes, Jamie Mollett, Kings of a Dead World. And then for the next one is Eggs in a Basket, 3 books you want to read this spring. One of them is Long Loud Silence, which is Wilson Tucker, and I've got a bit of Wilson Tucker thing going on for the past year or so. A Year of a Quiet Sun, which is a stunning book. Long Loud Silence was one of his early one, 1953, and it is really hard. It's out of print. It's really hard to get hold of a second-hand copy that you're not going to have to sell a kidney for. But I finally managed to get hold of an ebook version of it. And I'm looking forward to reading that. Also, John Scalzi has got a book out called The Moon Hits Your Eye, which is about the moon made of cheese. Sorry. I'm not a big fan of modern science fiction because I think a lot of it misses the point, but I've enjoyed like the Kaiju Preservation Society. I really enjoyed by Scalzi. I read Red Shirts. The ending sort of disappointed me a bit. But I'm quite interested to read this. So he's probably one of them. The only modern, I do read the odd modern science fiction, but not much. And I didn't put a third book. Can I think of a third book I want to read off the top of my head? Not for this spring. I do not know off the top of my head, so I didn't write it down. Green Pastures, a classic that never gets old. I'd go for Raymond Feist's Magician, which I forgot to get off the shelf. Which is, I go back to that, so I read that probably. At the moment, I've been slowly over the past few years working through the whole of that Riffle series. Sorry about the noise, it's my dog who's still not particularly well. But yes, I've been working through the whole of the series the past couple of years, but I do go back to Magician quite a bit and reread it because I just like it. I love the characters, and it's just a great, great read. There is an extended version, which I think is like the author's preferred editions, which I'm a bit like director's cut. I'm always suspicious of them. I do not think the author's preferred edition adds much to it. It adds about 100 pages to it, which doesn't really move the plot forward. So I always go back to my original copy that I brought on release. But I have the same thing with director's cuts. Sometimes they just don't work for me. But yes, so Magician, Raymond Feist. Next one, Pollen, a book or you're allergic to. Generally self-help books, because most of them are pretty banal. But I wouldn't totally outrule them, but generally most of them are banal. And it just, I wouldn't waste my time really. I don't mind a bit of philosophy and stuff, but just general self-help ones now. And then as a bonus question here, number 9, which is Equinox, which is find 2 books on your shelf that have the exact same number of pages and talk briefly about them. Well, this actually was a lot more difficult than I did. So I ended up with 2 books that have almost got the same amount of pages. But it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So I've got Peter Beers. I just want to go for a bit of obscure one. Urban Prey, which is part of a trilogy, and this is set came out in the early 80s, and loved the Peter Elson artwork on the front, which hopefully if I angle it right, you can see that well from the reflection. This is set in 2020, bizarrely, Trauma 2020, part of the Trauma 2020 series, and it was, I think, did he do any more adult books? Because he did some, what we now call YA books at the time as well. But it's about this guy called BK who's basically down on his luck and everything goes wrong for him. And his uncle's a criminal and he just gets dragged along in all these ideas. And the world's a big dystopian world and nothing goes right. I will read the back blurb for you because that might sort of give you sort of an idea. It says, BK isn't exactly a hero, but it's the year 2020 and like 15 million others, he's short of cash. So BK sets out to do a bit of smuggling with his uncle Franklin. Nothing goes right for BK. First the pox dogs chew him up, then the army calls him up. He doesn't fancy getting gassed in one of Europe's endless wars, but that means evading Homer, a 7-foot albino psychopath sent after him by the military. Enter Tommy the Moose, who can offer BK a safe passage to America, provided he kills a very important policeman first. It's chaotic, it's nonsense, and it's fun. So yes, there's two books. The follow-up is the Crucifixion Squad, and A Silent Slaughter is the third book. So yeah, Peter Beer. And I think I remember reading somewhere that Peter Beer had done another book that's available ebook only, which was like a follow-up on that, but I need to do some research into that. Because I brought this, when it came out, I found it in a bookshop. I think I found it in Waterstones in Bath, actually. Just saw it, like, look at the title, went for it. And this is one I've had to replace after the Great Book Purge, and to find it was quite difficult. The next one, almost the same number of pages. I'm going to pick a novelisation, because I've got to think about novelisations. And this is Alan Dean Foster's novelisation of The Black Hole, Walt Disney's film. Walt Disney's first feature film ever to get a PG rating. And obviously this wonderful version has even got photos of old Bob in there. We love old Bob, don't we? But as with all of Alan Dean Foster's novelisations, he manages to add stuff to it within the confines of what he's been given. He manages to add context to it. If you've not seen the film, I won't spoil the ending for you, but I will just say he adds a lot to the ending to make the incredibly sort of acid trippy ending make a little more sense. And as novelisations go, it's worth reading. I think it is anyway, but if you're a fan of that. So yeah, that's it. That's that tag done, and thanks to Gavin for tagging me. I meant to tag a load of people, but I'm not sure who's done this or not done this before. So I will say I will tag probably Al from Aldo's BookTube, Steve Donahue, maybe Booklectic, and a few other people. I'll see what I do, but I'll probably check that they've not already been tagged on this anyway. But thank you for watching, and if you want to hear my thoughts or anything, just remember you can always pop onto my Discord up there, because I'm doing lots of weird stuff up there at the moment. Anyway, I will speak to you all very, very soon, and goodbye for now.